What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about a guy who is probably my favorite player in the league right now. I know I've mentioned it before on this channel. I am a Packer fan. I haven't made many videos about them, so no one can call me biased. But I will say that I did buy a Jaire Alexander jersey after his rookie season. So I've been a fan of Jaire's for a long time, and I'm excited to finally make a video on him. And after the last performance where Justin Jefferson was held to one catch for 15 yards, I thought that was a good excuse and good timing to drop a Jaire Alexander video. I think he's the most overhated player in the league right now. I see a lot of people calling him a villain of the NFL right now, a troll. So I just want to set the record straight. Make no mistake, this is an incredible player. There's maybe a little bit more dick riding in this video than in my normal ones, but I don't care. And without further ado, with that being said, here we go. The thing that really stands out when you watch Jaire Alexander is this guy's a special mover. This guy might be the most fluid athlete in the entire NFL. This play against Tom Kennedy isn't exactly a marquee matchup, but it's a good example of what I mean when I say this. So initially, this looks like it's probably like cover 3. The corners have eyes on the quarterback. Jaire's way off the ball. This kind of looks like zone coverage. No one moves when they go into motion. So the original point of this play, you got Tom Kennedy kind of running this deep crosser, and then Josh Reynolds is going to run like a little drag underneath. This creates a high-low concept. What you're trying to do is put one of these linebackers in conflict and then read whether they drop, and if they do, you hit the drag, or read if they come up, and then you can hit something over the top. That's originally what the plan is, but after the snap of the football, the Packers are pattern matching, okay? So they're letting the routes kind of dictate what kind of coverage they're doing. And when these two release vertically, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tom Kennedy, I think that's Rasul Douglas is going to match and kind of get into man coverage with Rasul Douglas, and Jaire is going to be in man against Tom Kennedy on that crosser. Tom Kennedy realizes they're pattern matching, and he's going to have to break man coverage. So when he gets to that hash mark, he kind of starts to cut this upfield, even though he's still running that crosser. Now, Jaire very quickly recognizes this, recognizes that he is threatening vertically. Now he could run straight towards the end zone or break this outside. So Jaire Alexander kind of squares him up, gets his feet even. Now he's ready to drive off of either foot in whatever direction Kennedy goes. And it's hard to defend in the slot like this because this wide receiver has the full field to work. And this is what makes Jaire's movement so special, right? He recognizes the original break here when he starts to cut upfield. He gets in the position to defend that, but when Kennedy plants off that foot and continues on his normal path, it's not really a problem for Alexander just because he's so twitchy, right? He's able to, once he gets his feet even, recognize what Kennedy is doing, drive off that foot with no false steps, and continue going as if nothing happened and lock this down. So when he's in the slot like this and the wide receiver can go anywhere, Jaire is just so fluid and he's so twitchy that he can just follow him wherever they go. He's got the movement skills to deal with any break at any time, and that is the type of movement that makes him a lockdown corner, not just against Tom Kennedy of the Tom Kennedys of the world, but against anyone. Footwork like that is almost impossible to beat. And on this play, he's playing off coverage. And it's pretty common sense that against off coverage, you're susceptible to getting beat underneath, whether that be with a drag or some sort of slant or a hitch or something in the flat. Any of those routes could break off coverage. Jaire is aware of that, and so is this wide receiver. And very early in this route, this wide receiver starts to act, to sell, that like he's running a slant. Like 2 steps into this thing, he starts to turn his body inside like he's about to settle down or run a slant or something. And Jaire has to respect that, playing off coverage. And as soon as that wide receiver starts to sell that he's breaking inside, Jaire plants that back foot and just comes to a full stop. Right there, okay? Ready to break on this slant. Now, when you come to a full stop in the middle of the play and the wide receiver is still moving and the quarterback has time to throw, that gets you susceptible to double moves, right? You're at a full stop, wide receiver's still moving. Yes, he's cutting it a little bit inside, but they can't always just turn on the jets, fly up field, and fly past you. You got to be ready for that double move, and it's very hard to defend if the quarterback has time. The quarterback does have time. There's a little fake slant right there. Very subtle, but it's there. Jaire stops, and then that wide receiver flies upfield. Now, as a corner, you have to make up some ground, right? He's got a little bit of a cushion here, but he's got to turn his hips and fly upfield because he's going from a full stop to try to run with someone up the field. So he's flying upfield now, and then this wide receiver, it's almost like two double moves in one. Flake slant upfield, fake upfield, settle down. And Jaire would have been ready for this throw at any point. Whether that actually had been a slant, he could have driven off that back foot and jumped it, whether that be an actual double move like fake slant vertical, like he had the cushion and he has the hips to flip and run with that vertically, so he would have been fine there. And then after the vertical move, he settles down and Jaire's right in his hip pocket anyway, like stopping right with him. This is very hard to defend if the quarterback has time to throw it, right? Those two separate double moves, and Jaire throughout all of it, the footwork is perfect, and he is ready to disrupt the pass if it comes his way at every point in this route. That ability to plant your back foot and fly upfield is called click and close. And Jaire Alexander has better click and close ability than, for my money, anybody else in the league, right? And on this play, not only is he clicking, right there's the back foot, and closing, beating a Josh Allen pass to the spot. He's also got very good ball skills. You see his hand here come up. He plays through Gabe Davis's hands very well here. It does hit Davis in the chest, but very good hands by Jaire to knock this ball free and stop that curl and stop the first down from happening. And then later in this game, Jaire is bailing at the bottom of the screen here against this play action, and he's playing way off. And Gabe Davis is running a little curl, right? This should be free money for Josh Allen with that kind of arm strength. If you get bail like this and your guy is running a curl and you've got that kind of arm strength, 99.9% of the time, Josh Allen is able to gun that in there. But you see Jaire reading Gabe Davis's body language right at the sticks. Davis's back starts to straighten out. His leg starts to straighten out. You can tell that he's about to break, right? But it's easy when I'm slowing it down by, 100 times, and I can show you every little granular detail of body language while pausing it. But Jaire is recognizing that in real time. And as soon as that leg straightens out, and he's clearly about to plant right here, Jaire recognizes that in a millisecond and plants that foot to drive on the curl, right? And Josh Allen smartly doesn't throw this, because if he did, Jaire would click and close and probably pick this off, which is crazy to be able to do that. Like, he's everything everywhere all at once. You can play bail and still defend a curl at the sticks because you are that caliber athlete if you're Jaire Alexander. And when you're playing a guy with that kind of movement skills, things that look open all of a sudden become very much not open. The point of this play and this dude is to run vertically, stress the boundary corner, which is Jaire Alexander, and Adrian Amos, the safety, and open up space for this other crosser underneath. And when Goff hits the top of his drop right here, it kind of looks like that's exactly the look you're getting. Jaire's got eyes on this receiver. He's got a ton of depth, and the safety's also got a ton of depth. And it looks like there's plenty of space to fit in the ball to this crosser. Like, Jaire's not going to be able to beat the ball there. But he is able to beat the ball there. He's able to, once again, click, close. He's always got eyes on, he's got like a chameleon, one eye on the receiver, one eye on the quarterback all the time. He's able to read what Goff wants to do, click and close, and get to the ball with room to spare and pick it off. And of course, that skill also helps you in press man coverage, which the Packers don't ask him to do a whole lot of, but it does happen. On this play, Alexander is playing with outside leverage. The wide receiver breaks that outside leverage, crosses his face right here. Alexander's like, oh shit, I'm better prepared to run with this guy, flip my hips and run with him down the sideline. But that's not what happens. Once again, the wide receiver breaks down, plants that outside foot, and bursts inside. Now, it's tough. While you're opening your hips and preparing to run vertically, all of a sudden you got to change directions and cut inside, and that's where the journey ends for a lot of defensive backs. They just don't have the flexibility to do that or the reaction time to do that. The wide receiver cuts inside after initially releasing outside, and the ball's right there, and they catch it, and you say, well, what can the corner do? How can anyone do this job? And the answer is just being the type of athlete that Alexander is, being able to plant that foot, flip those hips, and then once again, great hands to get in between the hands of the wide receiver and break this up without committing pass interference. When I think of the offensive weapons around the league that have the best movement skills, the most twitchiness, one name that comes to mind is Garrett Wilson. He's pretty special when it comes to changing direction and running routes and stuff like that. And that Jets game was actually one where Jaire Alexander spent a decent amount of time following Wilson around in press man coverage, which is not something you see often from this Packers defense. But in this matchup, they went with it, and Alexander did a great job here. Wilson is running an angle route, starting by releasing inside, then cutting outside. It's very hard to hang with an athlete like that when he runs a route like that if the quarterback has time to throw. But Jaire Alexander's with him step for step, completely in his hip pocket, blanketed the entire way. Once again, in the slot, Wilson's just going to run a slant here, stutter his feet for a while, then drive off that outside foot inside. Jaire mirrors him perfectly and is just as explosive and just as dynamic while being reactive, which is crazy. Zach Wilson targets him, but Jaire Alexander breaks it up. Here he's out of the slot on the outside, running an out route. Once again, Jaire Alexander is there stride for stride and breaks this pass up. I think he had 4 pass breakups on the day. Now let's talk about the Vikings game, because that's the game that kind of sparked this video. It's the game that kind of saved his reputation a little bit. Jefferson only had 1 catch for 15 yards. I know people have been down on Jaire kind of this season, which I don't agree with. I think that Jaire Alexander has been totally phenomenal, as you can tell. But anyway, a lot of people love to hate him because he's so outspoken and just kind of a flamboyant character, and people don't like that, even though they love Deion Sanders. They love prime time. But no, if someone does it in the modern era, oh, what a cornball. Anyway, so let's talk about the Viking game. 1 catch for 15 yards for Jefferson. And Viking fans will tell you, well, Jaire is not really why that happened. He had safety help over the top the whole time. And it's true, right? This was a total team effort on Justin Jefferson. But I will say this, of course he had fucking safety help, dude. Safeties are there to help. Oh, we had a safety over top. Where do you think the safeties usually line up? They don't mug up the A-gap every play. Safeties are always over top, especially on Jefferson. Every single game, Jefferson deals with brackets and stuff like this. He's just too good not to. But not in every game does he get held to 1 catch for 15 yards. And a lot of the safety help comes down to what the Vikings want to do, right? Because this is an inside-out bracket. You've got Alexander here, he's got outside leverage. Then you've got the safety over top. He's got inside leverage. So depending on where Jefferson runs, that's who guards him. All right. If he were to run an out-breaking route right here, the advantage that Jaire would have would just be leverage. It would look, for all intents and purposes, like just a one-on-one if this was like an out route. It would look like just Jaire took him one-on-one. But that's not what happens, right? He runs a dig route. And when he runs a dig route, this safety is going to nail down on it. That's what's going to happen. And that's what happens. There's the safety. He nails down on it. Very good coverage. I really think Jaire probably could have run with him the whole way here and had pretty good coverage on him the whole way here. You see the really good stuff here, flipping his hips, running with this guy vertically, getting hands-on, but not really interfering. And then, yes, Viking fans, getting hands-on doesn't always mean interference, right? He's not really inhibiting the route. He's just kind of getting hands-on, feeling it out. And when he breaks inside, Jaire kind of eases off, and the safety comes down. Great coverage from Jaire. Great coverage from the safety. Is that Ford or Amos? Looks like Amos. And that's kind of what was happening the whole game. The only time Alexander and Jefferson were really matched up genuinely, authentically, one-on-one in this game was the infamous gritty incident of January 1st, 2023, when Alexander set social media ablaze by hitting the gritty after this play. And I thought this was a great bit of coverage by Alexander. Flips his hips. He's running with Jefferson upfield. It's totally blanketed, but this is a back shoulder throw. Jefferson is tracking this, Alexander is not. So Jefferson knows to hit the brakes, and Alexander flies upfield. Now, in a lot of these situations where there's an underthrow or a back shoulder throw, you can draw defensive pass interference because the wide receiver, or the cornerback, will be running upfield, and then once the wide receiver stops, he'll just get run over, or when this corner overruns it, they'll hold on and kind of drag a guy down with them. Now, it does look for a second here like maybe Alexander is holding right there. You can see his hand on kind of the upper chest of Jefferson. But if he was grabbing a fistful of jersey here, I think, and if this was holding, you would see Jefferson's shoulder kind of get yanked down and he wouldn't be in a position to make a catch. If that was happening, you should call it. But that's not what happened, right? Alexander's hand kind of slides across Jefferson's torso. Jefferson isn't really getting yanked down or affected here and is honestly in a perfectly good position to make a catch right here. So to me, that was never holding. I thought it was a good bit of start and stop ability by Jefferson here to plant his feet and then flip his hips, locate that ball. You see Jefferson ready to make the catch here. You see his two arms outstretched. Jefferson plays through the hands perfectly, right? Punches in between them. Ball gets knocked out on the sideline. I thought that was perfect, right? A lot of people thought holding, maybe taunting for the gritty at the end here. And it's 100% taunting Jefferson, no doubt. But if Jefferson mossed Alexander in the end zone, caught a touchdown on his head and hit the gritty, no one would think that's taunting. But if the corner does something good and hits the gritty, then it has to be taunting. But luckily it wasn't. Good job, refs, on that play. Common Lambo refs W. There was another jam later in this game that I don't know if it would have been man coverage. I think it was just trying to reroute him and then maybe sink into the flat. But the jam was so intense that it just knocked Jefferson straight on his ass. So this was an elite game and demonstrated some elite play strength by Alexander on Jefferson. I don't think many corners have played Jefferson better than this over the last several years. So I know a lot of people always want to hate on Jaire and prey on his downfall and take away from the stuff that he does because he's loud and kind of obnoxious if you're not a fan of him. But yeah, this was something, and he's been something all season. He's been great. When you look at Next Gen Stats tracking numbers, the only two corners in the league with a lower allowed coverage EPA than Jaire Alexander this year, you got James Bradbury and Sauce Gardner. And then Jaire is third. So the numbers have not been bad this season, all right? He has been consistent on tape and on the stat sheet. And when you think about the Eagles and the Jets defense, well, they have some of the best pass rushes in the league. Their time to pressure is 5th lowest in the Eagles' case and 8th lowest in the Jets' case. So that means they're getting very quick pressure and the corners don't have to hold up as long. You look at the Packers, they're the 5th worst team in the league when it comes to time to pressure. So Jaire is putting up those numbers despite the fact that he has to cover longer on average than the two guys ahead of him. He has been completely elite this year by basically every metric. So, and the eye test. So I don't know what else to say. That's all I got for this video. Yeah, the guy really just doesn't have many discernible weaknesses. He can play in any role, outside, doesn't matter, slot, doesn't matter. He can play in any scheme. If you want to play more zone, like the Packers do, he's great at that. If you wanted to play more man, he'd be great at that too. Maybe even better. That might be a better use of his skills because I think playing man is a little bit more valuable. But anyway, a lot of people are down on him right now. I don't think it's fair. I think he's got all the skills to be the best cornerback in the league right now. I think he might be the best cornerback in the league right now that Jalen Ramsey's having a bit of a down season by his standards. I still think that those two are 1 and 2. So there's a lot of great corners in the league right now, but I still have those two as my two favorites. I think they have the best blend of all the skills. And yeah, I hope that this video made you see the light on Jaire if you hadn't already this season. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I know it's been a bit of a break. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to share this all with you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop in the comments videos you'd like to see in the future. And as always, I will see you next week.